During this segment, we'll meet up with Marisa and Chris when they interview their client for the 6th time. Off-screen, they've done substantial additional research on the case. In addition to meeting with their client several times, they've conducted background country condition research, they've located some witnesses in Guinea, and they've located an expert, a university professor, who specializes in the political situation in Guinea. All of this has helped them to develop their legal theory and corroborate the facts of her claim. The country expert has proven particularly helpful because he's identified a potential additional ground for asylum that the client had not indicated earlier. The lawyers plan to pursue this with their client during this interview. When you're watching this segment, pay a particular attention to how the lawyers deal with an inconsistency in their client's story. It's very important to be concerned about inconsistencies, in asylum cases in particular, because credibility plays such an important role in these cases. Because a client's case is often based on personal information and experiences, it's hard to corroborate using alternative sources. Therefore, judges often put a lot of emphasis on a client's credibility, their demeanor, and their consistency of account.
Well, we're happy you could come. We've been doing a lot of work in your case, and we first wanted to update you on all the progress we've made. We've had some significant breakthroughs in your case. We've been drafting your affidavit. It's now about 20 pages as a draft. It's not final yet because we need to review it all with you and make sure that every detail is true and accurate, because we're going to submit this to the court, and on this you're going to be telling your story based on this. So we need to make sure it's true and accurate. Later on we'll be asking some specific questions about your affidavit, or it's also known as a declaration.
So that is for me to tell my story?
This is what we're going to submit with your application for you to tell your story to the judge. So you'll be telling your story based on what's on here and going into the details that we include here. Everything that you say in the court needs to be consistent, needs to be the same, close to the same of what's on your affidavit or declaration. So, we need to make sure the whole story is here and that that's the story you're going to tell the court, because otherwise the judge, or moreover the government, could say, oh, well, now she's lying because she's telling us something that wasn't on her affidavit. We've been doing a lot of great work also researching the human rights conditions in Guinea and gathering evidence from Guinea, and I'll turn it over to Marisa, who can update you on everything we've done in that regard.
Yeah, well, we have done a lot of research on country conditions in your country, in Guinea, and we have a lot of good reports, and we also have an expert who Chris is going to tell you about in a little while. But in addition to country research, we also got a very good report back from the psychologist who you saw.
Okay.
And this is a copy of the report, and it's consistent with everything you tell us in your affidavit.
They say I'm crazy?
It doesn't mean you're crazy at all. In fact, it means you've had a very natural reaction to something terrible that happened to you.
I don't want this to be admitted.
Well, it sounds like maybe there's something you disagree with in there. Could you maybe explain a little why you don't want it admitted?
This is not something that is accepted in my culture.
Mm-hmm.
People will look down on me.
Okay. Well, let me explain a little bit about that. It's not going, no one from your country back home is going to see this. This is only for the judge and the government attorney to see, okay, because they have to know what happened to you. And here, our culture is a little different. And when people have suffered like you have, we kind of expect them to have something like post-traumatic stress disorder. If you didn't have it, it would actually kind of be a bad thing for your case. It would show that maybe you were lying, or maybe you really didn't suffer the way you said you did, because you're totally fine.
This would show that the harm you suffered was so severe, causing this condition, that on this basis alone you should get asylum, as well as it helps to show why you have a fear of future harm based on the past harm. So it really can help, it can help with your case before the court. So, but it's definitely...
It's your decision, and if you want to think about it, that's fine. It would probably hurt your case if we didn't have it. But you can read it, and if you have any questions, you can ask us, and then let us know what your decision is.
Okay.
In addition to this report, we also spoke to a friend of yours in Guinea who may be able to provide us with an affidavit that corroborates some of the facts that you've told us and that we've put in your affidavit.
Okay.
And we received a package from your mom. She sent us your school transcript and your doctor's records. So that was really good. Have you spoken with her?
A little bit.
Good. Yeah, she was very nice. It was very nice of her to send those things. I also spoke to the president of the UFR, and he did confirm your father's membership, and he is going to try to write an affidavit for your case.
Okay.
And we found an expert on Guinea, which takes a lot of time. Guinea is not the biggest country,
Right.
But we found a university professor in Boston who is willing to come to your hearing to testify about the human rights situation in Guinea, and he's very familiar with the president's political party and the repression against your political party. He also told us about something, about the Malinke tribe, which you belong to, and this was something we didn't fully understand, but that the president uses tribalism to divide and conquer the population to stay in power. So the president is from one tribe, and he has his people target the Malinkes in order for him to maintain power. That kind of conflict between the tribes keeps him in power. And that was something that we weren't aware of.
Right.
Is there a way that we can prove to the court that you're Malinke?
Il veut que je prouve que je suis malinké. Comment est-ce qu'il veut que je prouve que je suis malinké?
C'est-à-dire, il veut savoir que sont les caractéristiques.
I think, can you just translate the
Remember,
question
you're
back
the
to us?
telephone interpreting
Right.
for him.
I think it's difficult for her to understand how she can prove something like that.
Okay, well...
Like what sort of
Are there-
proof?
What kind of characteristics are the Malinke? How are they different from other tribes in Guinea?
Well, we have a different language, which
really?
is
What language?
Mandingo.
Okay.
And generally, we are more fair-skinned, and we have some different rituals. But
So if someone looked at your national ID card, would they know by looking at your picture or your name or anything on there that you were Malinke?
somebody in Guinea, yes, they would know.
How would they know?
Because my name, Touré, is a Malinke name, number
Oh.
one, and it's
Your
all the-
last name, your family name is a
Yes.
Malinke name?
yes.
Okay. And you look different, you said. You're fairer skinned. Now, Fatima, we wanted to ask you some more questions to fill in some of the blank spaces on your affidavit.
Okay.
But before I do that, I was going over the answers you gave me in your I-589 and your application for asylum, and I noticed something that kind of didn't make sense to me. You had said that your father was active in the UFR, right, and that you were targeted in part because the government was trying to find out where he was. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, but here in your application for asylum, it says that your father, El Haj Touré, is deceased. Did we misunderstand something here?
My uncle Lamine,
Yeah.
I
Lamine is your uncle?
yes, I Because I see him as my father, because
I
he came to live with us when I was 12, when my father died, and he took care of me like a father, so I just see him as a father.
Okay. Was there any kind of formal adoption?
No.
No? Okay.
Do you know why not?
In our country, we don't need to do that. We just, he was just became a part of my family like that. I just saw him as my father, and he just took my father's place.
And he's your father's brother?
No, he's a distant cousin of my father's.
Okay. Why don't we try to figure out everyone who was living in the house?
My mother and my aunt, my uncle's wife, my servanta, my cousins Kumar and Abdullah, my sister Karima, and my three brothers, Mohammed, Abdul, and Tia.
Now, when you say your sister and your three brothers,
Yes.
are they your sister and your three brothers by your mother and father by birth?
Yes.
And your aunt is Lamine Touré's wife?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, we want to know about that first attack, the first time the government soldiers came to your house. One thing that was unclear from our previous interviews was how many soldiers were there? Approximately. It doesn't have to be exact. We can say around X number of soldiers, but we need to get a sense of how many were there.
I think it was like 7, but it could have been 8 or 9.
Okay.
Okay.
So around 7.
Between 7 and 9.
Between
Yes.
7 and 9, we can say. And do you remember, what day this occurred on?
I think it was towards the beginning of the week, but I don't remember what day it was. I know it was a school day.
Okay. And when were the school days?
We went to school on Monday, but we don't have school on Wednesday. So it could have been Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay. But you're sure about the month that you provided us?
Yes, in January.
Okay, great. And what about the time of day?
No, it was like midday.
Midday? Okay. Because we'll want to include that. We'll include in your declaration that there were 7 to 9 soldiers who stormed the house midday on a day in January, which you don't recall the specific day, but that's okay.
Because the more detail we have in your affidavit, the more credible it is.
The more believable.
Okay.
The other thing we were wondering was, you say that these were government soldiers who came into your house because they were wearing red berets. What about the police? Do they dress like that
The police,
with berets?
The police does have berets, but not red.
Oh,
It's blue.
it's blue?
Yes,
And how do you know that?
because we know what the local police is dressed like.
Mm-hmm.
We see them. We have some of them at my school on the grounds, and it's not like the presidential guard.
What did they say when they came to your house?
They wanted to know where my uncle was.
Did they identify themselves at all?
No.
Okay. Do they know that you're Malinke?
Yes.
The government. How do they know that?
They know that because, like I said before, because of my uncle, who is a very visible member of the UFR. They know that he is Malinke because of our name, Touré. And so they know the rest of us are also Malinke.
Did they ever say anything to indicate that they knew that you were Malinke?
Yes, they would call us names when they arrested us. They would say things like dirty Malinke, and say very nasty things. One time when they took us to interrogate us, they would say like, oh, you Malenkes think you are going to run the government. You will never run the government because we will kill you all before we will let you get power. And they would call us names and, like I said, dirty Malenke. They would say things like that. And
how did you feel when you heard these things?
I felt very humiliated. I felt bad.
And they were not Malenke?
No, they are Sosums.
Okay. And how did you know that they were not Malenke?
Because I know that the Susus are the ones that are in the government, and everybody knows, like, the tribes in Guinea.
That's very, very helpful.
Yeah.
We'll definitely integrate that into your affidavit, because all of that shows what their motivation was, which, you know, is what we need to convince the judge that they were harming you for reasons that are protected in the United States under the refugee definition for asylum.
We should start preparing for the hearing. Not today. We'll have we'll meet again so that we can actually kind of do a practice for the court. You know, we'll ask you questions and talk to you about how we're going to ask questions, and then how the government's questions are going to be, and how the judge will act during the hearing, and, you know, get you ready for the hearing.